Hi guys, my name's Bankhead. I'm an underwater archaeologist and I'm on yet another River Hunters recce. This time I'm up in Scotland and I'm standing on the edge of Ardoch Roman fort. It's probably the most best preserved Roman fort anywhere in Europe. This huge earthenwork structure that spreads out over 2 hectares. If I just pan the camera around, you might get a sense of some of the earthenwork features. So we've got a whole series of ditches there, which are just these. You just imagine how formidable they would have been for anybody to cross over. And if I just pan the camera around, just get a feel for, look at them. That's absolutely amazing, isn't it? So you've got a whole series of ditches and a rampart, and we know that the fort itself was occupied during the Antonine and Flavian periods, which is pretty exciting. Archaeological excavations have taken place here. Just look at that, a whole series of ditches. How many men would have had, how many Roman men, well slaves as well, would have been employed to build those structures? So the fort itself is actually huge. It's spread out right away around there, as far as you can see there. So the river is down in the bottom, in this bottom corner, and that's where I'm going to go next and do an investigation of the conditions down there. Hopefully the riverbed is such that objects will be trapped. I'm pretty sure it won't be muddy, which would be the worst case scenario. So what I'm trying to do, I need to get down into the water, work out the best access into it, check out the conditions of the riverbed itself, see if the flow isn't too strong, make sure it's not too deep as well. We don't want anything that's so deep we can't metal detect down in the water. And then I'm going to take my metal detector down there as well and just see if we can get any signals. So the big question for me is, was there a Roman bridge at that spot? What we do know is that a Roman road, which sort of came up from the south, skirted around there, and it just linked in a whole series of marching camps and temporary structures that were there. But they would have had to cross that river, but how did they do it? So the geology suggests bridge because it doesn't lend itself to a ford. But if we can find objects, for example, large nails, that might just be incredible evidence that actually the Romans had a bridge down there. So that's it. So I'm going to get myself kitted up, get down in the water and see what I can discover down there. Okay. So I'm now in the southwest corner of Ardoch Roman Fort, which is no more than 30 meters away over the busy main road that passes through the village of Braco and probably follows the Roman road north, pushing up into the highlands. Over my shoulder, hopefully you can make out the River Knaik, and this is the closest location in which it passes by the Roman fort. And just pan the camera down, you might make out a mother mallard duck there with all of the little chicks just swimming away down the current. Hey, look at them go. They're probably just a couple of days old. Okay, so at this point we have this pretty spectacular bridge, a stone-built bridge, single span, that is really, really narrow. And if I just move the camera around and just walk over to the bridge, hopefully you can see that it's probably less than 1.5 meters wide, and it's got no edges as well, and it's very high, so it's quite dangerous. And if I position myself in the middle of the bridge and just reach out, hopefully you can see how high it is, but you get a good view of the water as well. And that looks like there's just a whole series of flat bedrock. There's the busy main road bridge there passing over, and there's a whole series of deep gullies down there, but generally it's relatively shallow. And if I just pan around to that location, wow, look at that. That is absolutely beautiful. I really like that. A whole series of terraces, little mini waterfalls, and you look at the cracks in the gullies that are down there. So for me, that's really exciting. Any objects, small metal objects that have been lost in this river would probably get washed downstream for a short period of time until they come over a mini waterfall or come into a little crack or gully. and they'll fall in there and get trapped. Even if that was 1800 years ago, they'll still be there to this day. And if the bronze or copper, they'll be really well preserved. So I'm going to recommend, well, first of all, I'm going to go down into that water. I'm going to put my dry suit on and get down. I'm going to take the metal detector down as well, just to see if I can get any signals. And if I can, that sort of suggests that definitely come here. So if all things go well, I'm going to recommend to the team of river hunters that we get permissions. We come up here and we've got an area, maybe half a mile to search. Follow the River Knaik up and around the Ardoch. And just up there we have the many marching camps that were spread out. And you've got to imagine that thousands, tens of thousands of Roman soldiers would have come down to this water, this river, to bathe, to get drinking water, to channel the water through the fort for sanitation reasons. They needed water for cooking, for their animals. That is why Roman forts are built next to rivers, because they needed the water. And if we know that there was thousands of Romans passing through this place, they would have been down at this river without a shadow of a doubt. So wonderful pack horse drovers bridge, maybe 500 years in itself. So all around beautiful location, and I'm going to put my dry suit on and get down there now and just see how many signals we can get. Okay, right. Hi guys, right. I'm finally down in the river. I'm really excited about this particular location. It has such an incredible history. 100 meters away in that direction is Ardoch Roman camp, Roman fort. This huge, massive earthen structure that just dominates this landscape. I'm probably sitting in the southwest corner of that camp, and at this location here is where the Roman road just skirts around the bottom edge and goes off and links up with the marching camps that are in this area of Scotland. Over my shoulder you might make out a pretty spectacular arch bridge, and that's post-medieval in date, so it's got some age. It's quite a spectacular structure actually, and that's an old drovers route. And you've just got to imagine that the drovers themselves, when they were leading their animals over the river at this point, they would have stuck to the original roads. They wouldn't have veered off, you know. So if they stuck to the original Roman roads and crossed the river here. So the big question is, did the Romans have a bridge over the river at this spot? So I've got my metal detector with me. My mission today is to recce this area for the team before we come up here with the whole River Hunters team. So as you can probably see that the river here, I'm standing in a gully, so the river's almost chest deep, but actually just up there it's really shallow. So what I'm going to do is just going to pan the camera around. There you go. So I'm just going to walk up and do a little bit of searching of the river just up here, just to get a sense, just a feel for how many signals there are. Look at that. How often can you get the opportunity to touch a bridge like that? Absolutely beautiful. Look how narrow that is. You've got a fear of heights, you wouldn't really want to cross that. So as you can see, the river is pretty much solid. I would hazard a guess and say that was sandstone. So flat bedrock, really slippy. So the biggest hazard is actually the moss that you can see there. But, whoa, yeah, just saying it was slippy. So the biggest hazard is slipping, someone banging their head, so we'll have to report that back. But so there's a whole series of mini waterfalls, little drop-offs, loads and loads of locations where objects that entered the water may have been lost. So what I'm going to do is put my headphones on. I'm just going to walk up here, get a few signals, and when I do that I'll drop the camera down underwater so you just get a sense. So I'm not going to dig the objects out, literally just get a sense for where they are, how many there is, and what sort of signal I'm getting. Are they metal, iron objects? Are they maybe copper, alloy, lead? We don't know. Just get a sense for what potentially we might find on the day. Okay, so here we go. Oh, incredible location. Quite a few signals there, iron ones, and also potentially copper or perhaps lead objects. So you just got to imagine that there's a wide range of different types of objects here. I think the golden object would be to discover large iron nails. That clearly would be Roman. That would suggest that there was a Roman bridge here, timber bridge. That would be fantastic discovery. But what about votive offerings? You know, the Romans were very, very superstitious, and they wouldn't necessarily cross a river without making a votive offering. These were sort of the frontier lands. If you didn't want to be killed up there, you would make your little wish, make your little prayer to that effect, and throw it in the river, an offering to the local deity, perhaps. So incredible location. I'm going to go up on the top and get some different shots of the Roman fort. So catch up with you later. Okay, so I moved the recce about 200 meters down from the Packhorse Bridge. Now for me, this is a really exciting location. Just behind those pine trees there, approximately 100 meters, is the fort, Ardoch Roman fort. And you've got to imagine that the thousands of Roman soldiers who would have occupied that fort throughout its period of use would have required two things. First of all, clean drinking water, not just for themselves, but for food preparation and also to water the horses. But they would have taken that water from upstream of the fort, where hopefully it was a little bit cleaner. But here, technically, is downstream from the fort. And any waste, any rubbish that would have been thrown out of the fort may well have been deposited down here. You've got to think of the sewerage. If there was waste running down, where would it have gone? And probably downhill to this section of the river. So as you can probably see, the river levels here are really low. We haven't had any significant rain for a number of weeks now, so that's really encouraging. And the visibility looks fantastic. But what really, really excites me is this bank side, because that is new erosion. See them tree roots, they've only recently been exposed, and just underneath it, in amongst it, is archaeology. I can just feel it, I can sense it. So I'm going to go across and have a look, see what I can discover, because anything at all that's fallen out of this bank through erosion will have ended up in the river just here. And what a fantastic location to search. Now that's really unusual. You can see those round stones in there. What's that all about? All this big U-shaped, is that a gully that's being backfilled? That's really unusual because you've got clay and soil either side of it. Nice little bird's nest in there. We won't disturb it. I think the chicks have fliggied by now. But you can see this new erosion where the tree roots are being exposed, and anything could be in there. So that looks like clay. So this is bedrock clay here. So nothing would have gotten below that. I wouldn't have thought, unless that channel's really exciting. Just move down a little bit. Look at that. There's a feature, sort of another U-shaped gully cut into this clay, packed with smaller pebbles. So what's in amongst there? What archaeology is in there? Any coins? Any rubbish? So you can see that's where the soil is. So we've got some really distinct layers. We've got almost these gullies that have been cut through, perhaps man-made, backfilled with boulders for some reason. But we've got this thick layer of clay, which is probably about 4 foot of clay, and it starts breaking into smaller stones, this nice round shaped stones, and then soil on top with the tree roots in there. So that just crumbles away. Wow, how exciting is this? And look, if I just pan the camera down to the water, you can see how the stones and debris from that boulder field, the erosion, have just ended up just in the water there. And what a wonderful place to search I'm going to recommend we come here, get bored and recce and searching here if we can, because we are so close to that Roman fort. Let me just turn that back up a bit. So there's some more stones just backfill that gully. That's really interesting why they are there. So this is really, really interesting. We do have permission to be here. The Packhorse Bridge, 200 meters up there. That's well worth a search. Ardoch Roman Fort, 100 meters there. The rampart and those ditches just there. And this, for me, is really exciting. So I'm delighted to be here. Okay, so before I go off and investigate another section of the river, I've just thought it worth dropping the camera down under the water so you can get a feel for how clear it is and how searchable it is. You'll see on the riverbed these little boulders that I've dropped down, and there's flat bedrock just there. And if we can find objects here, you know, that'll be really, really exciting, and they should help contribute to our, you know, understanding of the Roman fort and what the activities were going on here. So really exciting. So I want to share with you the conditions and just see what you think. So I moved the recce approximately 600 meters upstream from the Packhorse Bridge. I'm looking for a potential ford, a potential crossing site. Ardoch Roman Fort itself is just there, approximately 100 meters away, over the other side of the dry stone wall. This huge earthenwork structure, and it is the largest surviving Roman fort in the whole of Europe. Those ditches are incredible, and the ramparts just, you know, really get a sense of place at that location. What do we know about it? Well, the fort itself is one of a chain of forts, pretty much one day march apart. It was occupied during the Severan and the Antonine campaigns, and it was probably first built or first constructed during that first century, during the sort of the Flavian campaigns. Behind the fort, in that general direction there, and as I pan around all of this flat area here, are several, 4 or 5 additional much larger marching camps, and that's really interesting because it suggests that this was a good location to pause en route up. So what I'm going to do now is just drop down the valley to where a location where I think there is a ford down there where the yew tree is. Packhorse Bridge is at the bottom down there. If you follow the line of trees around, that's the course of the river. So why don't we have a run down, just stretch our legs a little bit, get some air in our lungs, and go and investigate what that ford might be. Because you've got to imagine tens of thousands of Roman soldiers needed to cross this river somewhere, but where? Done it. So I'm down here now. The yew tree's just flowering, and look what we can see at this point here. So hopefully you can make out the riverbed itself is really flat bedrock. But look, can you see those two grooves going off, one there and one there? You've got to imagine that the ground I'm standing on here has been rebuilt back up. But for me, this is a ford. Just look at how flat it is. And what are those grooves being cut into it? I mean, is that being cut out? Is that a channel there? Got a clean edge there. And these are almost like pavement stones. Flat pavement stones. So the groove goes off down there. And look, there's another one here. So ignore these large boulders. They'll have just come down with flood water. But again, we've got another cut just going out there. You probably see it better if I turn around. It's a nice clean edge going there, perpendicular to that one. So this whole area here lends itself to be a ford. And we know that there was another marching camp in the fields just over there. And we only know them because of aerial photographs during particularly dry spells of weather have revealed them. So for me, this location is really promising. I'm going to bring Bo and Rick up here. I'll suggest that we come up here. If we can't find a Roman hobnail boot or hobnails in the river here, you know, we're going to be unlucky. And you just got to imagine, you know, tens of thousands of people might have crossed this bridge here, sorry, this ford. And if they slipped, what did they lose? What got washed down there? Plus, I've just spotted, there's a real deep pool up there as well. And if you're a stinky, sweaty, dirty Roman soldier who's been marching for days and days, and you've got a couple of days to kill, a couple of hours to kill while in the marching camp, what better than coming down and having a nice bath in some relatively, well, absolutely clear, clean water, albeit cold, I imagine. So I'm going to investigate up there if I get a chance as well. So stunning location, beautiful countryside, huge potential, given that we know the big Ardoch Roman fort is there, whole series of marching camps. This has to have been, this lends itself to a natural crossing place. And are these cutouts evidence of a ford? So love this spot. I'm going to go back and report to the team and say, guys, get yourselves up here. Okay, catch you later.